Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. Alright, so last night I was, while in meditation, I received, whatever word you want to use, a very powerful ritual, which I want to share with you. And this style of ritual is a ritual that I do in various forms whenever I want to make huge changes in my life. If I'm running up against some kind of a block that things just aren't moving in the direction I want to go, or I know that I'm holding myself back, I have some unconscious resistance, whatever it is, I will very often do this style of ritual. And the results are always very profound. And I won't get into it, but there's been times that I have made absolutely unrealistic, impossible intentions for myself. And I do this kind of a ritual, and lo and behold, the impossible becomes true. So I'm going to share that with you today. All right, so today we are going to be doing a runic ritual to the Earth Mother Goddess Holle. She has other names. Holle is one. One name she's known by. She's also known by Hulda. I believe that her original name was HUUL. That's just me. I can't prove that, but that's what I believe. So this is the goddess that you are going to connect to. I recommend, if you choose to go online and do some research. Mother Holle, Goddess Hulda, and read the mythology about her. But it is my opinion, based on my research, that she might be one of the oldest European goddesses, or one of the oldest goddesses in the Indo-European tradition. In fact, we might even say that Kali and Hulda are the same words, different pronunciations for the same words. Hulda and Holle means covered or hidden. And so she is a goddess that is hidden underneath the earth. And she is, in the Germanic pre-Christian tradition, she is known for having mastery over snow. And in fact, even to this day, in different parts of Europe, when it's snowing, people will say Mother Holle is shaking out her bedspread. And the snow is, her direct experience, her direct effect. And if you think about, what does snow do? Snow is incredibly important for the regeneration of life. Because in the winter, what happens is it snows, the snow piles up on the mountains. And then come springtime, the snow melts, it goes into the rivers, and the rivers flow down into the valleys and eventually make their way to the ocean. And that water in the ocean is then turned into clouds again, and those clouds come up over the land, and they bring rain and snow and precipitation, fog. And this is the regeneration process. So this is the epitome of the feminine, because the feminine is associated with water and with healing. And I'm reminded of I wish I could remember the name of the cave. There's a cave in Europe, I believe it's in France, where the oldest cave paintings, I don't know if it's in the world, but certainly within Europe, we're talking 30,000, 40,000 years old. The oldest cave paintings are there, and it is situated in a river valley. And we know that people used to worship in this cave for about 10,000 years. And then there was an avalanche, and the cave got covered over with rock. And that's why the paintings are preserved until this day, because it was blocked off from, people coming in. And imagine what would have happened. Somebody could have come in and destroyed them. So now they're protected. But in this river valley, there was this forest and this river, and it's as if the river's coming out of this forested cave. And you can see the symbolism there. It's very similar to, if you're an Ice Age Paleolithic person, then this would have been the womb of the earth. This would have been the opening to the womb of the earth, and that's why in that cave there's nothing but paintings of animals. All right? There's no paintings of humans in there. All the cave paintings are of the animals. So this is in the womb of the mother as she's giving birth to all life. And this is where they used to go to worship. They used to go to worship the Earth Mother there. So this is what Mother Holle reminds me of, and I believe that she is perhaps directly connected to that. So the ritual that we're going to do is going to be to her, and we're going to use the runes to do it. And so I didn't have enough space in each one of the little things, but I tell you to face each one of the directions, but what I really mean is when you start in the north, you go clockwise, you face each one of the directions, and you come back to the north so that you have a total of 9. You do this a total of 9 times for each rune. So we're going to take the runes for the HUUL Breath, which is Hagalaz, URUZ, and Laguz. So let's talk about each one of those runes. So Hagalaz is the rune for, it's translated as hail, and but it's really the rune of any kind of healing transformation that comes down to earth. It's a descending energy. So we need to make a distinction between Hagalaz and URUZ, because these are 2 runes of transformation. Hagalaz is self-initiated transformation, which is why it's healing. URUZ is not self-initiated. It is transformation that is visited upon you. And so URUZ can be extremely challenging. And so the difference is when it comes to Hagalaz, it means that you are choosing to self-examine. You're wanting to look at yourself and improve yourself. So you have to have humility about this. You're willing to let go of whatever is not serving you, and you're willing to get honest with yourself. If you have attachments to things that aren't serving you, you want to be willing to take a look at your fear of letting go of whatever it is you think is going to, do whatever you think it's going to do for you. If you're not looking at yourself in a loving enough manner, if you're being self-critical and that's not serving you, then you want to let go of that. So just to give you 2 examples, these are 2 things you want to do when working with the rune Hagalaz. Self-initiated examination and transformation. So this is where healing comes from. And I could talk a little bit about it, but the longer that I stay on this planet and the more that I continue to do this practice and just observe life, I have come to the conclusion that all dis-ease, all illness and all disease has its roots in energetic and emotional imbalance. And that every form of disease is really the person in conflict with themselves on a deep unconscious level. The reason why diseases most of the time show up later in life is because the longer that somebody stays in unconscious imbalance, when they are fighting with themselves, after a while, this imbalance, this self-directed negativity that's happening on an unconscious level, ends up manifesting in the tissues in various forms. And in my experience, the nature of the illness will tell you what the conflict is about. So I won't spend the whole time talking about that, but that has been my personal experience. That has been also the conclusion that people that I have looked up to as teachers and mentors, that's the same conclusion that they've come to. And of course, this isn't new. This is taught in a lot of different spiritual traditions. So Hagalaz is looking at oneself and being willing to take a look at, what's really going on. The most powerful and the first instinct is self-preservation. And the most powerful instinct for self-preservation is not food, clothing, warmth, money, possessions. The first and most powerful instinct for self-preservation is the need to be loved and accepted. And this happens starting from 5 days old. From 5 days old, infants begin to seek to get a response from their parents. It's a survival instinct. And whatever message they get from their parents, whether that's, the parents are giving them an energetic message, whatever that is, or if they're given an outright message as infants and little kids, that becomes the blueprint for how they treat themselves in life. And this is the basis of all mental, psychological dysfunction. It's shame. It always boils down to self-directed negativity. So somewhere along the line, people get messages that they're not good enough. They need to, that they don't learn that they're loved simply because they exist. They're loved because of what they do, and all of the thought processes. This is why I attack victim mentality so strongly, because victim mentality is an adult external expression of some unmet need for not being loved and accepted, or there was some message that if you want to be loved, you're going to have to be, whatever it is. So many people's belief systems, their politics, their religions, their everything, the way that they interact is completely driven by their need to be loved and accepted and overcome any self-directed negativity that they have within them. So the point I'm trying to make is that your imbalances, there is an emotional payoff. If you're doing something that the rest of the world looks at and says, that's really destructive, that's totally irrational, that doesn't make sense, it's because somewhere along the line you learned that in order to be loved, that's how you have to be. That's what you have to do. And so Hagalaz is self-directed transformation because you are willing to take a look at the imbalance in terms of your relationship with yourself. So that's the first rune of the HUUL breath. The second rune is the URUZ rune. So the URUZ rune is the rune of power, of strength. It has a strong association with health. It has a strong association with bravery and fearlessness. and it has a strong association with sexual drive, determination, all of those things that we associate with power and bravery. This is URUZ. URUZ comes from the ancient Germanic pronunciation of the word. Now we have aurochs. The aurochs were prehistoric cattle. So the modern day cows are the descendants of the wild aurochs, which were said to be enormous. I think there was like 6 feet tall at the shoulder. At their shoulder, they were 6 feet tall, and then they had these enormous horns. And so they were incredibly fierce, and they were at least in the time of the runes, they were the most powerful wild animal there was. And so this URUZ represents this force of power and strength and bravery. And so when we chant the URUZ rune, this is also a descending power. It's a descending power of pure energy. And it brings tremendous health. I remember a long time ago teaching one of my students, and he decided that what he needed, because he had health issues, was that he needed to chant URUZ. So he chanted URUZ over and over and over and over, and then he came to me and he said, I'm going crazy with lust. It's driving me crazy. So URUZ has a strong connection with life force energy and procreation, and obviously if you've got a strong libido, it means that that is definitely an indication of good health. A lot of people my age complain about it. I don't, but a lot of people complain about they need to take special pills to make things happen. So URUZ is associated with strength and health. And then we get to Laguz. Laguz, it means lake, and it represents not just water, because it's not just the ocean. It represents deep waters, the waters that you find at the bottom of the cave. When you dig deep into a well, you get the Laguz, you get the deep waters of earth. And so when we put all 3 of these runes together, we have an energetic pathway, how energy nourishes, and the cycle of nourishment and healing repeats itself. The snow or the hail falls from the clouds onto the mountaintops, and then this power continues to descend and creates life, and then that water continues to go deep underground into the depths of the underworld. And then when you chant the HUUL breath, the way I originally experienced it was that water, that deep water underneath the earth, starts to boil, and then it creates clouds again. And so the clouds, of course, create the rain, and we've got this whole cycle over and over again. So it's a ritual of healing and regeneration. So be prepared to get rid of what doesn't serve you, and to become aware of power underneath that, unseen power that is in your unconscious that you have not experienced yet. All right, so in order to do this, what you do is you face north. First, what you should do is you should spend some time determining your intention. Figure out what it is that you want. And again, I use these rituals sparingly, and I use them when I want something, a big shift and a big change in my life. When I want something to really shift and change in my life, when I want to achieve the impossible, when I know that I'm blocked in some way, that I know that I have unconscious resistance based on my programming, based on my narrative that I want to get rid of. That is challenging for me. So one of the most common things people say to me when they work with me and we come to realize what it is their soul desire is and what they want to do, what kind of business they want to create, et cetera, then what I often hear from them is, the next week, they're really excited the first week when we uncover what their soul desire is, which is once you know what your soul wants, the universe has to give it to you. You just have to take action on it. If you don't take action on it, nothing will happen. You have to take action towards what your soul wants, and then the universe kicks in and responds to that. So in the first session, when I help people figure that out, they're very excited. And then if I talk to them again the next week, I will very often hear excuses about why they can't do it, why they've changed their mind. And they'll also ask questions like, well, I want to wait until I feel confident. I want to wait until I feel strong. I want to wait until, they want to wait until they have some feeling. So in other words, they're having doubts, fears, insecurity. Their unconscious resistance, of course, is kicking in, because the unconscious resistance means that your false attachment to an old narrative, your unconscious mind thinks that you need to do that to survive. Remember, the first and most powerful instinct is self-preservation, and the first instinct of self-preservation is to be accepted by the tribe. And if you've gotten the message that you need to do something that actually turns out to be really self-destructive, but you think that's what you need to do in order to be loved and accepted, especially if it's on the deepest unconscious levels, then taking an action that goes against that is going to be very traumatizing. You're going to go through some pain, some fear, some anxiety, some doubt, something. Now, this is going to be different for different people. For some people, it's going to be more challenging than for others. But when you take action towards that, all of that negative stuff is going to come up, and this is when you see people start something and then they never finish it. And they have perfectly good logical reasons why. But it's because they knuckled under to their unconscious resistance. And so these kinds of rituals for me are the rituals that I employ when I feel that I'm up against that. And so I expect, when I do this ritual, I expect there's probably going to be some challenge. And instead of waiting around to feel good about something, you need the power and the bravery to take action regardless of how you feel. And you trust your soul and you trust the process. That's what we do in this ritual. So we start by first determining what your intention is, and really meditating on the ancient Germanic life philosophy, which is those that die in battle go to Valhalla, which means not those who get a knife in the neck go to Valhalla. That's not what that means. It means if you are willing to die for what your soul wants, you are willing, knowing that it's going to be painful, knowing it's going to be frightening, knowing it's going to be difficult, you say, I'm going to get that or I'm going to die trying. And that's it. End of story. There's no more discussion. When you have that kind of mindset, then you have difficulty, you don't have difficulty. That's why the symbolism of battle is important, because you've got somebody on the other side of that battle line who wants to end you. It's not up for negotiation. They're committed to ending your life. And the only way you're going to get out of this is by fighting for your life. So you have to look at your unconscious resistance as this enemy that has decided to end you. And you will either succeed or you will die trying, and that's where you get a noble death. Now, of course, when you're going after your soul desire, it doesn't end up that way, but you have to be willing to go to there. Otherwise, you will talk yourself out of it, depending on how challenging your unconscious issues are. All right, so you determine your intention, and then with that in mind, knowing that when you do this, there's no turning back. You don't want to do it, you don't want to have that experience, don't do the ritual. The thing about rituals, when people come to me and they want to learn a mantra ritual, or any other kind of vow or ritual, whether it's doing the celestial qigong or the 90-day challenge, if you do it just for the sake of doing it, then there's no, you can do it as little or as much as you want. You haven't made any vows. But when you make a vow, you say, I want to achieve this in my life, I want this change in my life, and in order to accomplish that, I'm going to, let's say, do a mantra ritual for 40 days. I'm going to chant it every day at this same time for 40 days, and nothing is going to stop me. Then if you break that, then you're breaking your vow to the universe. You're breaking your vow to the gods. You don't want to do that. When people work with me and we have the discussion, which sometimes because the nature of people being able to sign up and all that without talking to me first, sometimes we don't have that discussion. But at some point, if I sense that somebody is serious and there's some challenges, we will have the discussion where I say, you don't get to walk away from our work unilaterally. You have to show up to every session that you pay for and you schedule. You have to show up, and you can't decide to leave training with me without talking to me first. Now, of course, you can leave whenever you want. I can't stop you from that. But if you make that commitment to me that you're, I'm talking about people who are my live apprentices, people who talk with me personally. I'm not referring to anybody else, just the people that work with me one-on-one. If you decide not to show up, now sometimes there's the resistance is overwhelming and people can't help it, and I'll try to be flexible, but there have been times when people have just said outright, yeah, I decided to stop working with you because, in one instance, somebody didn't like my politics. Another instance, somebody, more very, and have said things like, I just didn't want to talk to you today. Things like that. When that happens, you've broken your vow to the universe. And when that happens, I'm off the hook. And I get to decide, do I still want to keep working with this person or not? And more often than not, I will say our time is done. Because you must take these vows seriously. When you do a ritual like this, it's easy because you only have to do it once. Now, I do it sometimes for once a day for 9 days. Like I'll do it 9 days in a row. So I recommend that as well, because that is a very powerful number. So when you do like a 40-day ritual, the idea is you don't give yourself an excuse. No matter how you feel, you show up and you do your mantra. You show up and you do this ritual. And then you also know you're going to end up, something's going to happen. You don't know what, but you better strap yourself in because something's coming. All right, so that's the idea behind the intention. And I recommend that people do not commit to anything they know they can't do. If you, for instance, like doing the 90-day challenge or doing the HUUL Breath or any other kind of exercise, if you know that you can do 3 minutes every day, then commit to that. Don't commit to 2 hours a day for 2 weeks if you don't know you can pull that off. If you know you can do 10 minutes a day for 40 days, then commit to that. There are some people, like there's some guys in India that do things like they'll hold their hand up for 5 years. Every day for 5 years, they'll spend their whole day with their hand up in the air, lying down on the ground. They never, ever put their arm down. They'll do it for just unbelievable amounts of time. because they are same kind of thing. They're looking for some kind of transformation, some kind of awareness. You know, they want Shiva to appear in front of them, something like that. So this kind of dedication to a ritual really has power to it. Now, lucky for you, you don't have to do that, because you can do this once if you want. If you really want to go deep and get a deeper empowerment, then commit to longer. I recommend 9 days, but you could do 40 days if you wanted. Do this ritual every day for 40 days with your intention. I guarantee you something will change. Something big will change if you do that. All right, so that's determining your intention. Next thing you do, you face north and you chant Odin, Villi and Ve. I call upon the power of Hagalaz to bring me healing and self-awareness. And then you move clockwise to the northeast and you say the same thing. Odin, Villi and Ve. I call upon the power of Hagalaz to bring me healing and self-awareness. You do that in every single one of the 8 directions, starting in the north, and you go clockwise until you get all the way back around to the north again, and then you do it a 9th time. And so that represents the center. The first 8 represent the 8 directions of the thunder wheel, and then the 9th represents the center. That's okay, you can still keep facing north. So you do that for the Hagalaz rune, and then you do it again for URUZ. You face north, you go in all 9 directions, chant that same thing, which I have written down here. It's written in the description. It's also written here in this chat section. So after you've done Hagalaz, you do to URUZ, you face north, you chant Odin, Villi and Ve. I call upon the power of URUZ to bring me health and power. And then you move clockwise, you do that in every single one of the 9 directions. And then you do it a 3rd time, this to Laguz, you say, facing north, you say Odin, Villi and Ve. I call upon the power of Laguz to bring me emotional awareness. And then you, same thing. So what you're doing is you are facing each one of the 9 worlds. Each one of the 9 worlds represents an aspect of your psyche. So you are putting this rune into each one of the 9 worlds. You have 9 aspects of your psyche, which we've talked about in many of the Thunder Wheel shamanism courses. I talk about that all the time. Okay, so you do that for all 3 of the runes, and then you face north again, and you've now created Mother Holle, because she consists of the power of these 3 runes. These 3 runes will manifest her, which is why you chant it. When you chant HUUL in the way that I do, if you don't know what that is, all you have to do is type in anywhere on YouTube, you just type in HUUL Breath, and you will see numerous videos. Most of them will be mine, talking about showing you exactly how to do this breath. Okay, so when you chant that sound, you are creating. You are creating her. You're creating a holodeck so that she can manifest for you. And if you ever get a chance to do this when it is snowing, you will feel a real power. I remember when I came up, or when this chant was given to me, I was living in Idaho. And it snows, it gets cold in Idaho. And it would snow in the winter, and I would do this chant. I remember doing this while it was snowing, and it was a very powerful, wonderful experience. So at the end of doing those 3, facing each of the directions with each one of those 3 runes, then you face north, and you chant Mother Holle. I open myself to you. Bring me peace, self-awareness, and unity with all things. Then you do the HUUL breath for 31 minutes. And if you need to, there's a video. I think I have the HUUL breath in a loop that goes for 30 minutes. So you can just hit play and follow along with me. Or you can get a timer and set it to 31 minutes. So this is your ritual. Now again, you'd only have to do this once. If you have a clear intention, that will do it. I recommend also perhaps doing it once a day for 9 days. Find the same time every night and do it then. Before bed is a great time to do it. And anyway, I give that to you. That came to me last night, and I realized, wow, this would be a really powerful ritual to do. I recently did a similar kind of ritual for myself, and maybe I'll start talking about it, but I had huge unconscious resistance come up in the form of physical symptoms. And I was able to eliminate them by getting to the root of the emotional block. Once I was able to do that, then I was able to get rid of the physical symptoms. So I'm still waiting to see what else comes from that ritual. But it's in my experience, it's one of the most powerful tools you have to get the unconscious mind to evolve. The reason why our ancestors did rituals is because your unconscious mind is what's driving everything. This is why positive affirmations don't work. This is why The Secret, whatever the heck that's called, why that stuff doesn't work. Because you can't change your life with your conscious mind. You have to change it with your unconscious mind. And if you sit around doing positive affirmations, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to be happy. But if you have unconscious beliefs and patterns and narratives that go against that, bear in mind it's unconscious, so you're not consciously aware of it, then it won't matter what you consciously say, because your unconscious mind will veto it every single time. So in order to get access to your unconscious mind and get it to shift, you have to do ritual. The unconscious mind will only respond to ritual. So that's why these things are so powerful, and that's why our ancestors always did rituals instead of modern New Age people sit around talking about. Religion talks about spirituality, and the law of attraction folks sit around and talking about changing your feelings and being positive all the time. It's meaningless. You have to do ritual. You don't have to worry about how you feel. Just do a ritual. Same thing like, you want to get in shape. You don't have to feel like exercising, but if you get up off your ass and do it, your body will respond. It doesn't matter how you feel. It matters what you do. All right. So there's my ritual. I give it to you. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says hello. You can go check out his website if you would like to get, speaking of mantra rituals, you can go and get a reading from him, and he will give you a great ritual. I don't see any questions. So what we do in that case is, to give you a little time, we'll play a video for you while you're thinking of a question, if you do have one. And if not, then we'll move on to something else. So for now, let's go ahead and take a look at the wood, the 5 elements, starting with the wood promo. So let me turn that on here. Yep. Okay, so one question has popped up. Philip Church asks, question, should the featured ritual be done at a certain time of day? I recommend doing it at night before bed, but no, I don't have a specific time of day to do it. There you go. It is helpful to do it if you do choose a certain time, to do it at that same time every day. That is helpful. It's not mandatory, but it is helpful if you do it more than once. If you're doing it like, let's say 9 times, once a day for 9 days, then I would recommend doing it at the same time every day if possible. If you can't, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Nothing else? No other questions? Doesn't look like it. How many people we got on here? 23 people. Okay, so that's it. No more questions about anything. I guess we're done for today. So again, we get the main feature of what we're working on here is the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. If you really want to get the most out of what I'm teaching, I strongly recommend that you subscribe to that. It's a monthly subscription. You can cancel anytime you want. So you have nothing to lose by checking it out. You go there and you scroll down until you say Warrior 90-Day Level 1. Go and find the first video and then just click play and follow along. You just have to do the exercises with me, and then there's different levels, and we've got more stuff coming all the time. If you want to see all the things that I have, you can go to courses.thunderwizard.com. And yeah, of course we have the maoshan.thunderwizard.com as well. Baba Junzo throws out a question. Can this ritual intend your soul career? What do you mean? Can it intend your soul career? Look, if you're going to ask me a question, I want to hear your question. Write your question in a way that I can understand it. I don't know what that means. What do you mean, intend your soul career? Are you asking me that you don't know what your soul career is and you want to find that out? Are you saying that you do know what your soul desire is and what the career is associated with that? I don't understand your question. It makes me want to ask you if you're doing any of these things. So if you're asking me, can this ritual give you knowledge of your soul desire, it can do anything you want. So if your intention is, I want to discover what my soul desire is, let me explain to you what the soul desire is again. For that, read my book, The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. The soul desire is what your soul came here to experience. It's the one thing that gives you the greatest joy. And that is your first and foremost responsibility in this life, is to do that. When you fulfill that desire, the universe must give you everything that you need and you want. Sometimes people's soul desire and their career are the same thing. For instance, a musician. If somebody's called to be a musician and make money being a musician, then their soul desire and their career are the same thing. For some people like me, my soul desire is not my career, but my career, what I do for a living, all of this, is something that I enjoy and I would do anyway. And it is what gives me the ability to live my soul desire, which is to surf as often as my body can tolerate. So I don't understand your question, Baba. Are you asking me, you want to know what your career is? You want to know how to get your career? You already know what it is? Really, please, be more respectful to yourself. Ask a question that I'm going to understand so that I can answer your question. All right? I haven't seen you haven't responded to my question, so I guess you don't want me to clarify for that for you. Okay, so unless there's anything else, I guess we're done for today. Take care of yourselves, be good to yourselves, and be careful out there with all the craziness going on. All right. Okay, somebody else comes up. So Brown Demon 386. Welcome to my channel. If you, in order to interact with me, what I want is an honest question. You see above you those two questions? They're formatted in a certain way. There's the word question in all caps, and then you have a question. And then what I'd like for you to do is ask me questions about what I've taught. Your question almost is. So I'm not going to read what you've stated because it's potentially, you know, some people are going to, you know, that's not something I would want to tell the world, what you just said here. What you can do is you can get some help and figure out why you did that. So I would strongly recommend that you get some psychological counseling, because there's probably, almost certainly, some childhood trauma and abuse, because people don't do that unless there's something wrong. Unless you experienced some trauma or some abuse, people don't take those kinds of actions. So if you want to pay for your actions, as you say, then you need to heal yourself. You need to understand why you did that. So if you respect me, then I strongly recommend that you get some psychological counseling. Find a therapist and find out why you did that, and then heal that. The way to heal the world is to heal yourself. It starts with you. All right, nothing else? No other questions? Baba Junzo doesn't want to, you don't want to clarify your question? You don't want my help? Okay, so maybe I already answered your question for you. If so, I hope it works for you. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Take care of yourselves. And yeah, see you later.